What's up, guys? Here I am after work, kids are in bed, time to start vinyl wrapping this Lexus. Like I said in my previous video in the unboxing / game plan, I want to do at least one piece per night. There's about like 14 or 15 pieces on the car, so if I do one or maybe two every day, in 2 weeks I should have it all finished. I'm going to start with the hood tonight. It's carbon fiber, and I have some cutouts on there. The hood isn't perfect. There's some imperfections in there, but hopefully this super satin finish might hide some of that. I'm not real interested in sanding the hood and making it perfect. That's just not what I'm going to do. I've sanded and sanded and sanded on this hood previously to get it to this stage, and no more labor is going into that hood. I rather just wrap the hood and let it be how it's going to be. So first things first is to prep the surface. You want to spray, I'm going to do rubbing alcohol, 70% rubbing alcohol. Rub it all down real nice, make sure there's nothing on there. Hopefully I can get this by myself. This hood is like a little over 60 inches, so I'm gonna have to get a nice stretch on the vinyl. Thing about stretching, especially a satin or a matte finish vinyl, is you don't want to stretch in one spot. You want to stretch over a good area so you can evenly get the stretch and try not to overstretch anything. Watch quite a few videos. Hopefully I won't need anybody else. It is what it is, and I'm learning, so if you guys are here to learn too, we're gonna learn together. So first let me talk about why I chose orange. Well, I didn't choose orange, I chose the super satin orange for a reason. This is a very, very flat color, and I think that it looks awesome. It's gonna complement the lines, the body lines of the Lexus, and I really dig it. When I saw it on the Vinyl Frog website, I knew that I needed that super satin finish, and the orange and the chartreuse were honestly the two colors that I thought would look good. But I ended up going with the orange, and I'm very satisfied with my choice. Vinyl Frog is an up-and-coming company, and they claim to have a very high-end vinyl at a very affordable price, and I knew that that was a company that I wanted to give a shot. I like going with the underdogs. I like giving them a chance to prove themselves, and I'm glad I did. I really, really am satisfied with the quality and overall fit and finish. The customer service, the vibes that I get from the Vinyl Frog social media, it's all good in my book, and I'm very happy to be a part of the collaborative effort with Vinyl Frog. So this right here is why you want to make sure you clean all your edges, because I washed this car before I brought it in here. I thought I did a pretty good job, but obviously not. Pretty dirty up underneath, and the vinyl definitely wouldn't have stuck to that. So I'm about halfway through the hood. I figured I'd pull the camera off the tripod and give you a little update on what's gone on, how I like it so far. Surprisingly very easy to work. A couple times I got a little crazy with the squeegee and left a little crease. Hit it with some heat and it came right out. I did notice it will scratch. My buffer is dry, my bad. So what I was actually, the felt is dry, let me clarify. So what I was doing is not using the felt side and just being careful, and it worked really nice. You can see I got the body line in there real good, worked around. You can see where the hood pins are, and right there is where the vent goes. Got the corners. Obviously you don't want to stretch. This goes around the corner slightly. Have a 3M primer pen that if there's anything like that, I'm gonna open it up and just try and put a little primer down so the edges don't lift. Right here I effed up. You can see that. I was like trying to tuck it with the squeegee, and it was pulling too tight on my fender, and it popped through. Luckily there's a little bit of material, and it's about right where I'm going to cut anyways. I don't want a lot of overlap. I want it to be nice and clean. This is a black car, so the body lines are gonna hide the color a lot easier than if it was like white or red or something like that. So lucky in that aspect. So alright, so time to do the fender. I went ahead and I pulled off the over fender. I wiped it down with some of my alcohol. I pulled the vinyl over here and I cut a piece, and you guys can see I have this cutout in my fender. Definitely not going to be able to do this whole thing in one piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut the sides of the indent and then try and use as much as I can here, like the little triangle piece. I'm actually going to do I'm going to like inlay it right now, use some of this knifeless tape, inlay it, and then go ahead and put this. I'm going to inlay the bottom and the top, and then do like a 1/4 inch overlap or so. So when I put this on, it should be nice. That's just way too aggressive of a stretch to even try and attempt to do that. It doesn't seem smart. It'll just be easier to do it this way. So let me put the inlays in, knifeless tape. We'll start doing the fender. Should be fairly simple. Everything is real easy to get to. The paint is really nice on this. It is kind of a curved piece, but judging by the way this hood went down, I don't anticipate any issue using a little heat and getting it to curve. I know I had said it before, but I'm super pleased with how this reacts with heat. You can really put some heat to it and get some pliability, but if you pull the edges right and don't leave any stress in them, I feel like it adheres really well, forms around the curves and all that, and there's a little bit of forgiveness, which is nice when you're a first-time DIYer. Alright guys, day 2. Got the fender done. Didn't come out as clean as I wanted it, but let's check it out. Let's check it out. Let's look at that corner. Focus. That you see, the camera makes it stand out way more, but those are just little paint chips. So this, it's not lifting. That's just my carbon fibers all jagged. So I still need to cut around where these rib nuts are on my fenders for the over fender. I think that looks just fine. Yeah, that's overlapped, but the headlight's gonna rub right there, so I kind of don't want it right on the edge. If I could do it right there, that's fine with me. Everything's good. This is the only part that I didn't really care for. I kind of talked about it, but what I wanted the overlay underneath, but that didn't happen. First overlay, it don't look too bad. All right guys, day 3. That fender, you'd think the second one would be easier. For whatever reason, it kicked my ass. It's quite a bit warmer in the garage today, but came out good. Corners are nice. My overlay is but for just starting these overlays, I don't think they're too bad. Oh, sorry, that was fuzz on there, not a crease. Everything cuts and tucks real nice. I don't know if you guys can really see that corner. Corner looks good. Everything looks good. I had to use some 3M primer right here. I got these little sticks that I ordered a pint, just so I know I have enough, and for future use. There's a good little comparison. You can see how flat this is versus the clear. And there's the overlay. It ain't the greatest, but I think it'll look fine. I need to hit it with some heat, but then my over fender is going to come down and kind of block some of it. So one big thing when you're doing a wrap DIY, you only have one roll of material. Kind of got to plan out your cuts. This right here, you can see there's a section missing out of the roll. I went ahead and I cut a side skirt out. I just, you know, go over just a few inches on each side, and then I went a little taller than I needed to because I'm not sure how much I'm going to be able to wrap underneath or whatever, just a little extra. So I did this, and at the same time I'm going to do my door. Obviously side skirt's a little bit longer than the door, but that's fine. I could use this shortened section right here for something else, but I'm just trying to be smart about all your cuts. On a big piece like this, just use the magnets, put it up to the car, cut it, and then something I haven't shown yet is the air compressor. You should always blow off the back of these before you apply. When you peel that backing paper off, it creates static, so everything is going to want to stick to it. There's a couple little dust particles on the hood. You know, that is what it is. I blew So now that I'm all finished with the door, I can talk about some of the challenges that I had when I went through it. Honestly, the vinyl is so easy and user-friendly. It lays down with a little bit of finesse, no problem. That's not the hard part. The hard part is to get all the lines cut nicely, getting it tucked, getting your corners to not lift off. So you gotta kind of understand how the vinyl works. You cannot have tension on the edge. You can stretch the vinyl, you can stretch the shit out of it and have it lay down, but when you get up to that edge, you can't have tension in it. So you come up to the edge and you heat it, and then you fold it over with no tension in there, and that'll keep the edges to lay down. On the corners, there's a little bit more to it. You kind of want to do a very slight cold stretch over it, get it to hug around. But the main deal with this door is this body line. What you have to do is you got to work from the top to the body line and make sure the vinyl is off of the door. You can't fold that vinyl down into the body line. It just won't hold. It'll keep peeling up. So that's very important. Same deal with the fenders right here. I learned that on the very first one I did, and I had watched some videos where they had already addressed that. So I knew it was going to be a deal. So you gotta make sure that's nice and clean. You know, spend 30 seconds and wipe it twice, wipe it 3 times, whatever makes you feel good. So, but you gotta lay the vinyl into the crease and then down, into the crease and then down. I just worked it like an inch or so all the way across. And it worked out nice. It's been 3 days now, or 2 days, I don't know. My little helper. But you just work it in there and work it down. And same thing, like what I did is I actually took some masking taped the door handle off. So after I go over it, I can lightly cut on the masking tape and you're not going to get into the paint. 1/4 of an inch away from where I wanted it to be, and then I heated it up and then tucked it all the way around into the handle. And then once I got a good first tuck, then I final trimmed it, and then I was able to heat it up, get all the stress out, and then go in there with my little tuck tool right here, wrap stick, really get in there, and it looks nice. I did the hood, part of the trunk, both fenders, and a door. I've learned so much. So I couldn't imagine having 2 or 3 or 10 full vehicle wraps. You'd be a pro. Not really a pro, but you'd be very good at it. So we're gonna move on to the side skirt. The side skirt does have a piece of black trim inside of there that holds it to the car. I am gonna pull it off and then probably just stick a couple screws in there, because it's much easier to vinyl wrap stuff on the car, so you're not having to hold it. So you're not having to fight with it lifting up or whatever. This is my first time ever seaming a big wing like this with a concave, like ducktail type. I've done smaller wings, and this is my first time two-piecing it. The last time I did it with gloss black, I did it one piece and just stretched the shit out of it, and it didn't look good. But pretty proud of this, so let's look. So you can kind of see the seam. I ran the seam facing this way, so when you're standing back looking at it, you probably won't even see it. But if you're looking at it this way, I don't know, you still can't really see it unless I tell you it's there. You probably wouldn't even notice because it's right on the body line. And look at those corners, bro. I'm not a pro, definitely not a pro. First wrap job. But those corners though. This is a blemish in the wing, so that's not me. It's not shit under there. So first thing I don't video, I cut my finger. That's the first blood on this whole thing. And there's the mirror. I don't know if you could see. You should be able to see. This is more of a super satin, and this has a little bit more of a sheen to it right here. That's what happens when you overstretch. It honestly came out decent. And I might leave it, to be honest, because well, it is a DIY, and there's mistakes that are made when you first do something, and that is my first real big mess up. Granted, I'm not saying I'm doing everything right, because that's not what, this is my first time. I'm not a pro, like I've said multiple times in this video, but I just kind of want to show a mistake that I had, and maybe you guys can learn from it. And I know it looks bad. I had my wife come out here and look at it, and she's all, I can't even tell. So for me or somebody else that has done a wrap before, we're probably gonna see. But for the average person, probably not gonna notice. So I might even leave it, kind of have it be a talking piece. Vinyl Frog gave me plenty of their super satin black. So if I want to redo it, I can. If not, whatever, we'll see. But thought I'd just share that with you. And when they say when you're cutting, only extend the blade as much as you need, that's for a reason. Not only is it to not catch things you don't intend to catch on the car, but also your finger, your skin, whatever. But I live and learn. It's all good. Just a little blood never hurt nobody. A little overstretch never hurt nobody. But we can learn from it and move on. I forgot to do the time lapse of the mirror of this outer piece. It's a little bit of time to kind of mess with it. What you should do is tuck the vinyl back here, get it nice and tight on there, and then so you can stretch it, put a bunch of heat to it, stretch it as far as you can, and then fold it over, work it into all the spots. I was able to wrap it all the way around, so this is all one piece. And then you probably can't see, but then I did one piece right here underneath, because this little chunk right there, and then I had to do a little cover right here. So it's flat black, you can't really tell. This piece is pretty difficult. This is the one I did on the other side first. What pretty much just make something like this, try and work it in there. The same principle, tuck right here where you're not going to see it. You want to tuck, and then so you can pull on it and get a good stretch with some heat, and then bring it all around, and just fold it down onto it. And then remember, when you do your edges, you want to cut long, heat it, and then let it kind of cool, and then do your edges, you know, or with your tuck tool, whatever you got. Not too difficult. You got to kind of just see what's going to work and what's not. The other side, notable mention is the stretch on here. This one's a little bit more uniform. You can kind of see some semi-gloss spots where I stretched it a little bit too much. In person, you can't really tell. You probably can't even see on the video, so I'm not really tripping on it. And like I said, it's just the mirror. I'm actually going to attempt to do this trim. I painted it black. That was the first thing I ever did to the car, was paint this black, like over 10 years ago. So what I'm going to do is hit it with some Scotch-Brite and then attempt to vinyl wrap this trim with the remainder of my satin black, or super satin black. We'll see how that goes. If it doesn't turn out good, whatever, it's no big deal. I can maybe paint it again, or I don't know. You guys know the trunk's done, quarter panel is done. I did the gas cap today, and I did the chrome trim that goes around the window. Very easy. If I would have known it was that easy, I would have did that years ago. Literally, like, I'll take a video of the other side, but it was so easy. You guys don't even need a video. Just stick it on the end, pull it, adhere it, you know, pull it up, tuck the corners or the edges, and just it turned out really nice. The piece that I did do, here you go, you can kind of see it, but I'm not done with that piece right there. This applies to all cars with the chrome trim on here. Chrome is a really great surface for vinyl to stick to. So I have a little bit left over of this black. I want to go ahead and do this right here. Obviously, you look at this, if I were to cut a thin strip off, I don't have enough, but I can kind of measure it out like that. So this is how you cut it. You're just going to want to cut a thin strip, make the corner thin strip, make the corner thin strip, and just like kind of do whatever you can to get it long enough, and then you can heat it up and kind of bend it to follow the curves. So let me cut a piece out and show you. Alright, so you can see I cut it and it curves, but as you lay it down, it's real easy to just lay it here, add some heat, stretch and pull, and get it to lay down just nice. You want to make sure, I add a little tension, and then on a tight corner like this, you want to stretch and kind of wrap it around the outside of the curve. So when you're all done and you hit it with some heat, the backside of the film, the tension is gonna pull and like hug underneath it. It might be a bad explanation, but if you work with the vinyl at all, you'll completely understand what I'm trying to convey. Alright, so a quick little tidbit on this rear bumper. I have the emblem holes still in there, and then I have this for my battery shut off. But that's not really what I want to talk about. I just got this in. This is some 3M primer. This is good for any places that you think it's not going to stick. I've been waiting for this to do my over fenders, because where they bolt on, there's a pretty substantial little divot. So I'm going to use this in there, but I was also going to use this to do this right here, and hopefully it'll be able to hold itself down in there. That's the plan. We'll see how it goes. Last night I got the rear bumper done. If I hadn't said it before, I highly suggest taking everything off that you can. I should have just taken the taillights off, and I should have definitely taken off the rear diffuser. It would have made it a lot easier. But I heated the license plate area to 140 degrees, and it seems to have adhered very well. So take a look. Everywhere I dipped it in, it seems to have stuck. These wrinkles right here, I got a couple of them. That's why this diffuser should have came off. I should have taken the extra time to take it off, but other than that, everything came off really nice. This edge wasn't bad, it was just in the recess, and with this diffuser sticking out, that wasn't fun. You know, I just wanted to experiment with that to see if it would stick. I might cut this out and then do an inlay. We'll see. We'll see if when I put the license plate on, if it's real noticeable or not. But time to do the over fenders. I got this one in my hand, and I already did that one. I kind of just experimented with it. The best way is to stick it on the car with one bolt and just do it. But another thing I wanted to kind of point out, let me see if I could catch it on video. Right here by that hole to the left of it, you see the discoloration? That is residue from the 3M primer. So granted, this paint isn't great. You could already see where I tried this before, it flaked off. But if you have nice paint, I don't know if I'd recommend putting that 3M primer on there. So I don't care about these, about the little hazing, discoloration. This one you could see really well. A little disclaimer there for anybody looking to find out about that 3M tape. Save the bumper for last. Do the over fenders tonight and go from there.
So I'm all finished up. The only thing I need to do is put the hood vents on and push this thing out and get some good pictures. Sucks the day I finish. There's a storm coming in, starting to rain. Everything looks good. Came out better than I had anticipated. Little word of advice, don't get in a rush. Don't get in a rush. Don't get in a rush. Because as soon as you get in a rush, it's going to come out like shit. Let's move on into, I want to talk about the tools that I used, everything that I used from start to finish and everything in between. So first things first, I still have quite a bit of vinyl left over, which is good because say I mess up a hood, that's a big piece of real estate. I have enough to where I could redo the hood if I wanted to. If the front bumper gets messed up with rock chips, this or that, I have it. I could replace it. So that's not a big deal. But let's talk about the tools. Obviously, tools and materials, we'll say that. This roll of vinyl, I was lucky enough to have Vinyl Frog send to me, along with some black that I did my mirrors, or this window visor with. And then I also have, these are magnets. You need minimum 4 of those. I would say don't buy 2, buy 4. Yeah, it's nice to have. I don't think I ever used 4 except for like the front bumper when it's real long. And then the quarter panels, I needed that. But the other ones, 2 will work, 3 will work. This was my favorite razor right here. This is just a 30-degree retractable razor. And then you're gonna need, I went through about 10 blades. Each one of these snaps off. So I went through 10 full refills on that. Wrap glove. I hate working with gloves, but sometimes you absolutely need to use this. Yeah, I didn't really use it as much as I thought I would, but I would definitely recommend somebody that's new to this getting that. My hands are kind of rough and calloused and from grinding and fabricating, so you know what it is the heat, is to get the heat, not to burn your hands when you're doing stuff. But this is a cutter for the vinyl. What it does is you can cut the vinyl like with it up against the car, and you don't have to worry about it cutting anything on the backside. There's probably a better name for that, but there you go. And these little magnets are cool because you can just hang shit on there. This was an absolute must. This is a wrap stick. You can probably see how tore up it is. You would probably use one of these per car you wrap. Or maybe I'm just hard on these, I don't know. But this is magnetic. That's cool. That's a must. This I stole from my wife's sewing kit. It's a little flexible measuring tape. This is the knifeless tape. You absolutely need the knifeless tape for making seams like I did on the roof or on my front bumper, what I was talking about earlier. The center section I wasn't able to get all in one piece, so I cut it out and then I seamed it together with this. This was a this was 10 meters or so that I got. Actually, it was two 5 meter rolls. I used all of that, and then I ended up buying this because I thought I was going to need more. This is a 50 meter roll. I think this was like 30 bucks on eBay. It's just the cheap shit, but it works great. So, highly recommend this. This was my go-to the whole time. This is just a 4-inch, you know, semi-flexible squeegee. I should have bought more buffers. I only bought 5 replacement buffers. Doing satin wasn't really a big deal if you're going to do any gloss. Highly recommend having a pack of 10 or more, and then you want to use. Now I've heard pros and cons to this. This is what I was using as a glide. This is just like 70% water and 30% isopropyl alcohol. People say not to use it, but some people say they do use it. So honestly, it was fine with me. You can go ahead and buy the actual glide from a tint or a vinyl company if you want. Realistically, you're just going to spray it on. Use the glide to saturate the felt so you're not getting scratches. It's not like it's sitting on there, you're soaking it, throwing a rag on there and letting it sit. Yeah, I could see the alcohol kind of messing up the finish, but whatever. This, probably wouldn't use it again. I'd probably just buy a new one. I think it was like $4 on Amazon. I bought a kit that had all this stuff. This was like $7. This was $4. This was like $1. The magnets were like $12. This, like I said, was $30. The kit came with a couple extra squeegees. This one I used specifically when I was tucking around the rubber trim, which was good, but you could probably get away with not having that. This one I didn't use at all. I just let my daughter play with it. This is a 3M tape primer. Not necessary. I thought I was going to need it for these, and I did, and it worked okay. Probably would have worked okay without it, but you know, live and learn. I think this by itself was 25 bucks. So you need a bunch of microfiber cloths, you know, a straight razor, and I used a little hook tool from Harbor Freight just to kind of pry up some of the molding and then tuck underneath. And then this is another tuck tool for getting like around the edges of stuff. I have a carbon fiber hood and a carbon fiber trunk, so that didn't really work because the carbon is thicker, but this did work in the doors right here, on the fenders, worked fine. You know, this is also just, this side I use probably more than this, just to tuck shit. So that's all the tools, I would say. Oh, and a heat gun. You need a heat gun. My heat gun's still plugged in on the floor right there. They're 10 bucks from Harbor Freight. So 10, 25, 30, 30. I'd say budget 100 bucks and you could get all the tools you need. You could even buy multiple squeegees. This was a little cheap squeegee that I had got with some eBay vinyl that I bought for my tailgate cover. These suck. They're terrible. What I was using this for is to like press into corners because it's a little bit more fine than my big one. But don't try and squeegee anything flat. I was just tucking corners with that, or yeah, corners. So, but there we are, guys. Car's done. I'd say I got about 30 hours into it. 30 man hours, give or take a couple hours. I also wrapped my daughter's car last night. It took me about 2 hours. Surprisingly, that little Land Rover Power Wheels, it was a pain in the ass. That thing, it was harder than wrapping the car. It only took me like 2 hours, but it was tough. There's all the little nooks and crannies and detail. Like, yeah, that thing's cool. She wanted it like that, and yeah, it is what it is. So she's got a matching car like her dad had. But now that I've done it, definitely easier than I thought it was going to be. The whole process. Oh, another thing to add, I'm sorry, is the compressor. Not a must, but if you have a little compressor, that one I borrowed from my neighbor because my big one grenaded itself a couple months ago and I haven't fixed it yet. But that's just a little like 5-gallon pancake compressor, because when you peel the backing paper off, it's going to become very static and it's going to attract everything in the garage or anything. Make sure you have a clean workspace. That's another big deal. Every time I would do a big panel, like my hood, I got a couple imperfections up there, and then my door on the other side, it's got some imperfections, and other than that, I don't think my contamination was too bad. Those were like the 2 first big panels that I did, so I kind of learned from that. You want to just wipe it down with alcohol, and then I would blow it down, and then I would lay my vinyl out, and then I'd blow the vinyl off before I peeled it. And then once I peeled it, that backing paper, I'd roll it up and immediately go throw it in the trash because I feel like the static just wants to stick to everything. So once that was done, you're ready to start going. And remember, every time you pull it off, you're just like dust and everything to come up off the ground. So I swept before I did this. I blew out the garage, and then I even mopped. Before I did every panel, I would mop the floor because it's the garage. I live in the desert. I have animals, just hair and dust and dirt. Even though it's clean, it comes from places you don't even think of. This car is a little bit more complex than some, with the over fenders and with my hood vents and yeah, just stuff like that. It really wasn't bad though. I think that if you have half a brain, no, I don't know. Common sense isn't so common nowadays, so I can't even really say that. But everybody should do this. Like, I didn't prep the body at all besides alcohol. I didn't do any Bondo, no sanding, no nothing. I have a couple holes in the trunk that I just wrapped over. You can't even tell they're there, which is fine with me because a wrap is temporary. It's not a permanent solution. I'll keep this on for a couple years. This is going to start to be parked outside. So I think like 3 years is what it'll do outside, especially because I'm in the desert. I think it'd do 5 years if you parked it in the garage. Don't quote me on that. That's just a approximate vinyl life expectancy. So I'm very happy with how this came out. I couldn't ask for any more. Like, I was going to paint the car, but I'm unsure on the color. I could always change my mind. Paint is very permanent, obviously, and this to me was a temporary solution that would test my skills and ability, maybe learn something new, have some fun, make some content for you guys. And if you're on the fence about wrapping your car, don't be. Just go and dive into it and get it, and you'll figure it out. Really, it's not that hard. Watch some videos online. CK Wraps on YouTube has a bunch of really good how-tos. Every vinyl you work with is going to be a little different. I've worked with some very cheap stuff before, and it was an absolute nightmare. It made me feel like overwhelmed and I could never wrap a whole car. But that's because I had some shitty quality. This Vinyl Frog stuff, I can't say anything better about it except get it, try it. You won't be dissatisfied. Very thick, but not cumbersome to work with. Well, guys, that's it. I'm all finished. Hope you guys like it. If there's any questions, please let me know. I think it came out beautiful. Super excited, super impressed with the quality of the Vinyl Frog. That's a wrap. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Be sure to like and subscribe and follow along for more work to the LSXs. And of course, more OBS Ford stuff. If I missed anything in the video, give me a comment and I will definitely get back to you. Again, big thank you to Vinyl Frog for giving me the opportunity to do this. And thanks. Later.